All eyes are on the presidential race this election night as Republican Donald Trump gets close to the electoral votes he needs to win. And in Portland, a history-making election as voters used ranked choice voting for the first time to choose a new mayor and city councilors.
You know what? There is so much more at stake. We're also watching several local congressional races that are once again too close to call. Thanks for joining us here on KGW Plus. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Christine Pitawanich. Let's begin with the top of the ticket, the big presidential race that so many people are following at this point.
Hey, here's a look at the latest electoral college map. The winner needs 270 votes to become president. This is according to the Associated Press. There right now, Donald Trump at 267. Vice President Kamala Harris at 214.
And NBC News projecting both Oregon and Washington will go to Harris. Harris with 55% of the vote in Oregon, and in Washington, Harris with 58% of the vote.
Well, we are getting reaction tonight from Oregon Republicans and Democrats. We'll check in with Catherine Cook at Democratic Election Headquarters in downtown Portland. But first, let's bring in John Adams in Aurora, where the GOP is gathered tonight. John?
Well, David, I'm outside now because the party wrapped up about an hour and 45 minutes or so. But you could tell early on in the evening things were going Republicans' way on the national level, and people inside were extremely excited because to them it felt a lot like what happened in 2016, and it seemed like throughout the entire night that Donald Trump was a few points ahead of where he was at in 2020, very similar to the electoral map that we saw back in 2016. But you saw a lot of people jovial inside the facility here at Langdon Farms Golf Course in Clackamas County. Earlier today, people huddled around the TV watching the results come in. You know, it was a while into the night before we saw some calls for North Carolina and Georgia. But you could tell pretty early on in the evening that this was going the way of the Republican Party, at least nationally. I spoke to the vice chair of the Oregon Republicans. This is what they told me about what was different in 2024 from 2020.
I think this is a referendum on the bad policies that the Biden-Harris administration have really implemented across this nation that have decimated our jobs, that have decimated our economy.
Well, the Oregon Republicans said they're still waiting to see some more numbers on some of our races here locally in terms of Republican candidates there. But Republicans here in the state of Oregon very happy of what has happened nationally tonight. Back to you.
Yeah, John Adams reporting live from Aurora. Thank you so much for your reporting, John. Let's switch now to Catherine Cook, who's live in downtown Portland, where Oregon Democrats were gathered tonight. So give us a sense of the mood at this point, Catherine.
Well, the mood here, Christine, tonight is, well, empty. Everybody has gone home, but I can tell you that the crowd was very energized this evening, and till the very end, as the crowd started to go home, the race was still too close to call, so they were optimistic, thinking, hey, you know, we wouldn't really know results until perhaps tomorrow. Certainly now, about an hour and a half later, we know more than they did earlier, and certainly it did not go the way they were hoping it would. I did speak to Senator Ron Wyden, though, about the election results and the potential results that awaited us. I asked him about his concerns and his hopes for how the American public would respond to whoever would win, especially given what happened on January 6th.
My message is that what our country learned a few years ago is that a peaceful transition is absolutely essential to protect our wonderful system of government.
Senator Wyden told me no matter what happens with the national election, he said he is excited for what awaits Oregon and is proud of how Oregon and its state and local leaders will continue to govern. Back to you.
Thank you, Catherine, for your reporting.
All right, let's talk about the balance of power in Washington now. NBC News projecting Republicans will take control of the Senate. We are also keeping a very close eye on the House. As it stands right now, you can see where Democrats and Republicans stand in both chambers. Democrats need a net gain of 4 seats to flip the House from GOP control. Many of the key races still too close to call.
And 2 Pacific Northwest races will play into all this, both very close. First, in Oregon, U.S. House District 5, which covers Lynn, Clackamas, and Deschutes counties as well as parts of Multnomah and Marion counties. Democrat Janelle Bynum is leading Republican incumbent Lori Chavez-DeRemer. More on that race to come.
Yeah, the other close rematch, a rematch in Washington's District 3. Right now, incumbent Democrat Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez has a narrow lead over her challenger. You've seen the governor's race there with Bob Ferguson being called over former Congressman Dave Reichert. But we're talking about Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez over her challenger, Republican Joe Kent.
Evan Watson has been following this race and is live in Vancouver with the very latest. Evan.
Yeah, it is still too close to call this race, but Democrats are feeling the most optimistic right now. And of course, a lot of Democrats' eyes will be on these House races in the coming days as more results come in. Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez currently holds about a 12,000 vote lead over Republican challenger Joe Kent in this rematch. And Gluesenkamp-Perez is performing slightly better in key counties of Clark, Cowlitz, and Lewis County than she did 2 years ago in 2022. Now, Gluesenkamp-Perez celebrated and cheered with her supporters earlier tonight after seeing the early voting results. In a district that historically leans Republican, she could win back-to-back elections as a Democrat. Her challenger, Joe Kent, last told us that it would be an honor to win this election to fight inflation and secure the border. We weren't able to talk with Kent tonight, but we know that he visited the long line of voters who waited outside the Clark County Elections Office to register, vote in person, or fix an error with their ballot. Gluesenkamp-Perez says the early results in her favor show that she has a strategy that resonates with these District 3 voters.
And if we win again, it is a signal to the rest of the country that it is possible to take a different path. Step away from the national talking points and the hyper-partisanship and run a campaign based on respect for working people and the issues that directly impact us here at home.
This race is far from over, and if results are similar with turnout to what they were 4 years ago in a presidential election cycle, there would still be more than 100,000 votes to count in this District 3 congressional race. That's why we've been looking at the county-by-county splits for Gluesenkamp-Perez, which show her with a slight edge at this point, but a lot still to come, too close to call. Guys?
Yeah, time will tell. Thank you so much, Evan. And we are staying in Clark County, where there were some long lines at the elections office.
Really interesting. Let's get right to Devin Haskins. Devin, it sounds like a lot of people were hoping to cast their ballots in person at the last minute.
Yeah, there was that line completely evaporated now. The door behind me to the elections office closing at 10:27, 2 hours and 27 minutes after polls closed here in Clark County at 8 p.m. The line at times, we want to show you some video of that line. The line going down the one end of the building, a block and a half down the other direction. Hundreds of people waiting in line to either cast a ballot, register, or fix an issue with getting their ballot. This is something the Clark County auditor told me he's never seen before. For instance, in 2020, he said the line was only 50, 60 people long when the polls closed. There were several hundred in the line here after the polls closed at 8. We talked with one woman who had waited in line almost 4 hours to get inside and vote.
It's important. I work, so I had to come after work. My ballot, it was supposed to come in the mail. It didn't arrive, and I'm like, I need to get my vote in today, so I'm going to wait in this line.
So everyone that was in line here before 8 p.m. was given a little white cardboard card, and that was their little ticket to get inside the elections office to be able to cast their vote. If they didn't have it, they didn't get in. When I got here about 8:30, talked to somebody and they said they'd got here about 5:15. They'd already waited 3 hours. We were waiting here probably about 45 minutes ago when the last person came out, 3.5 hours later after getting in line. David?
Devin Haskins in Vancouver. Glad those people all got to vote. That's democracy in action for you. Appreciate it.
And staying in Washington, the Associated Press has called the governor's race for Democrat Bob Ferguson.
Current Attorney General in the lead with 56% of the vote. Their Republican challenger, former Congressman and King County Sheriff Dave Reichert, about 44%. Here is some of what Ferguson said earlier tonight.
As your governor, I will center you each and every one of you, red counties, blue counties, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, you are top of my mind. I'm thinking of you, will advocate for you, will make Washington even a greater state than it is today. Thank you so much, everybody.
Ferguson will succeed Jay Inslee, who chose not to seek a fourth term.
All right, to the historic race for Portland mayor now, where ranked choice voting is in effect, with roughly 50% of the total ballots cast in the race now tabulated. Trunking Company CEO Keith Wilson has a commanding lead. Carmen Rubio a distant second. Renee Gonzalez currently defeated in third. Keep in mind, this all could change when Multnomah County reports additional results tomorrow evening at 6 and then again on Thursday. By then, Thursday, some 90% of the ballots cast should have been counted.
Our Kyle Aboshi is following this race closely. He's live from City Hall for us. Kyle, what can you tell us at this point?
Well, political newcomer Keith Wilson suggests that Portland is ready for change, and voters seem to agree. Based on preliminary results, Wilson is in a strong position to become Portland's next mayor, although there's still a lot of ballots to be counted in Portland's first ever election using ranked choice voting. The trucking company CEO joined his supporters in Northeast Portland this evening. Wilson, who pledged to end unsheltered homelessness in his first year on the job, believes the city is ready for big change.
If I win, it's time for us to get to work. We're not, we'll wait, we'll sleep for a week, and then we're going to start putting our plan together. And January 2nd, Inauguration Day, is going to be about getting the work done.
The outcome of this race is far from over because of ranked choice voting. City Commissioner Carmen Rubio joined her supporters tonight in Northeast Portland, and Commissioner Renee Gonzalez thanked his staff, family, and friends at a gathering in downtown Portland. Commissioner Mingus Mapps is also still in the mix. Election officials suggest it may be a day or two until we have a winner in this race and a new Portland mayor. Back to you.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see Kyle Aboshi in downtown Portland in front of City Hall. Thank you, Kyle. We're also keeping an eye on Portland's city council race, another ranked choice vote with 12 people who will now be voted in. We'll have a look at those results coming up. And another hotly contested congressional race on this election day, U.S. House District 5 in Oregon, which covers Lynn, Clackamas, and Deschutes counties, as well as parts of Multnomah and Marion counties. Republican incumbent Lori Chavez-DeRemer trying to hold on to her seat against Democrat Janelle Bynum. The latest results has Bynum ahead of Chavez-DeRemer at this point. Bynum with 47.9%, Chavez-DeRemer just over 45%.
And the last election cycle, this race was not called until Sunday. Let's bring in Alma McCarty. She's been following the race for us live in downtown Portland. Alma.
David, Christine, yeah, lots of Democrats were here in what is now an empty ballroom at the Hilton in downtown Portland, and among them presumably was Janelle Bynum, who is trying to oust Republican Lori Chavez-DeRemer for her seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. However, Janelle Bynum did not take the podium here, did not take the stage, and was really not seen mingling around the crowd this evening. She had an early lead as the first results began to roll in from Multnomah to then Clackamas County, but that lead narrowed significantly as 9 p.m. drew near. Closer to 10 p.m. it stayed that way, with thousands of votes separating the candidates. Again, both Bynum and her Republican opponent knew that this race would be very close, possibly too close to call on election night. There have been millions of dollars spent and countless ads aired over the last couple of months, signifying the importance of this race, considered by many to be a toss-up. Now, Bynum gave this as a statement just before 10:30 tonight, writing in part, "We are still waiting for final results for Oregon's 5th Congressional District, but it's imperative that every lawful vote is counted, and our team will continue to monitor the returns. We are confident in our path to victory." Then Representative Lori Chavez-DeRemer released a statement a few minutes after 11 o'clock tonight, saying in part, "The initial results have shown this is a close race, which we all expected. I am confident that voters appreciate my track record as the second most bipartisan member of Congress, and that will bring us across the finish line." David, Christine, back to you.
If Democrats take the House, and it's a big if right now, this race could be key. Thanks, Alma. I appreciate that update. Hey, sticking in Oregon with U.S. House District 6, that's Polk, Yamhill counties, along with parts of Marion, Clackamas, and Washington. The Oregonian calling the race for incumbent Democrat Congresswoman Andrea Salinas over Republican Mike Erickson. That is a rematch again. As of now, Salinas with a commanding lead, 54% to Erickson's 46. After attending an election night party in Salem, Salinas came to talk at the party in Portland.
It tells me that I am bringing people along with me, that this is not me out there alone, that I'm listening to people, that I'm understanding the problems on the ground, and that I'm turning those issues into action at the federal level.
This is the second time Erickson ran against Salinas. Back in 2022, he lost by 2.5 percentage points. Now to a closer look at Portland's city council races. 12 council members will be elected, 3 from each of Portland's 4 new districts.
Hey, we got the music for this one too. 25% plus 1 is the threshold to win. Though we want to caution you, these are the preliminary results based on about half the total ballots cast being counted, and they can change in the coming days. First, we're going to go backwards here, starting with District 4 that covers all of Portland west of the Willamette, including downtown. The leading candidates, Olivia Clark, Mitch Green, and Eric Zimmerman. District 3, this primarily includes inner southeast Portland. Waiting for the graphic to flip here. The Oregonian projecting former city councilor Steve Novick projected to win outright, and the other leading candidates there, we're actually going to 3 here, Angelita Murillo, and Tiffany Koyama Lane. 98 candidates across the board in these 4 districts. A lot to keep track of.
For sure. And in District 2, covering north and northeast Portland, Samir Kanal, Ilana Pertolgini, and Dan Ryan, leading candidates there. And finally, District 1, East Portland has Candace Avalos, Loretta Smith, and Jamie Dunphy in the lead.
Again, we're saying leaded, not elected at this point. Speaking of that district, let's get to Blair Best in southeast Portland. Blair, 98 candidates. We now have some leaders, at least for now. How are folks there feeling about all this?
Well, David, Christine, this is one of the more complicated races on the ballot, seen as it's ranked choice voting. There are 98 candidates, like you said, running for 12 seats on city council. 3 of those seats will be filled by people who live in East Portland. That's the first time that'll happen in 100 years. And that's a big deal for people who live in East Portland and say their neighborhoods have been neglected for decades. Let's take a closer look at those preliminary results for the race in District 1. Early polls showing that Candace Avalos, a climate change activist and member of Portland's Charter Review Committee, leading. Loretta Smith also leading, a former elected official and small business owner. And then we have Jamie Dunphy. He has a long history of working in public policy and is on the Park Rose School Board. We caught up with each of them earlier tonight.
It's overwhelming, and I'm excited to see how the rest of this goes, but it's certainly an encouraging first start.
At the end of the day, coming into this, I did everything I could, and so to see myself at the top of the list right now really reflects, I feel, all the hard work that we put into this campaign, so I'm so proud and overwhelmed.
I haven't given up on Portland, and clearly you all haven't given up on Loretta Smith, so I just want to say thank you.
All right, so we've been saying this all night, but we will not know the final results of this race tonight. And because it's ranked choice voting, those in the lead now, that could all change. But again, this is a big moment for Portland, especially those in East Portland. Back to you.
Appreciate your reporting, Blair. 98 candidates. That is a lot to handle. Appreciate your reporting.
A lot to read up on. All right, let's stick with Multnomah County here. The Oregonian calling both races for Multnomah County Commission. Megan Moyer substantially in front of Administrative Law Judge Vadim Wazirski for the District 1 seat. And in District 2, Shannon Singleton beating out former Portland Mayor Sam Adams out in front there by about 9 points.
And in Clackamas County, there is a new chair of the commission there. Former Clackamas County Sheriff Craig Roberts has knocked out of the game Tootie Smith. And for position 4, Melissa Fireside holds the lead over Mark Schull, but that race has not been called. And we have more results ahead, but in the meantime, if there's a specific race that you'd like to check, we have full results on our website, kgw.com. You can also text the word election to the number there on your screen. That is 503-226-5088, and we'll send you a direct link to the results page.
Yeah, it's been a fast and furious election night, which means we really do need a break. Matt Zafino, let's talk about the forecast.
Yeah, it's dry, which is great. Always a win when it's dry on election day in Oregon and Washington, right? So we've got that going for us. And we've also got fog forming out there in the valley right now, too. It is late. Of course, it's after midnight now, so no surprise that we're getting fog forming during the overnight hours. Now that the clouds have cleared off a bit, it is 45 degrees. There's humidity at 90%, so it's not completely thick over the Portland area yet. but other parts of the valley are seeing it. And the headlines include sunshine, and then next week a shift towards a very fall-like, very November-like pattern. Let's check the visibility, though, for tonight. Down to 3/4 of a mile in Aurora and McMinnville. Salem has come up a bit. We had visibility down to 1/2 mile there, but the metro area still seeing good visibility, even though we did see the fog forming in downtown, as we just saw for the Wells Fargo Skycam, right? So it really is the Western Valley seeing the fog right now, and it should become a little bit more widespread as we go through the rest of the night. So foggy in the morning, about 43, but by noontime that fog is breaking up, and by 5 o'clock we are out of there with fog and get up to about 60 for a high temperature tomorrow, about 58 to 60 right in there. So you can see on the satellite imagery hardly anything in terms of clouds because the fog's not showing up. You see this massive area of high pressure that's really been developing strongly tonight. The jet stream is now going up and around and then driving northerly flow down into the northwest. But this is our weather for the next couple of days, meaning clear, right? Other than the fog we have in the morning tomorrow. After that, though, I don't think we'll be dealing with it on Thursday morning at all. In fact, the modeling now is blowing the fog out pretty quickly. This is 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. East winds begin to pick up. It's not going to be a super strong east wind event, but we will have it. And then Thursday looks spectacular. Should be clear all day. The east winds increase a little bit more. For most of Portland and Vancouver, it'll just be a breeze. If you're in and near the gorge, then you know it's going to be a strong east wind, right? But it does do us the favor of keeping fog away. Farther south, say towards Eugene or north towards Seattle, you may be dealing with fog on Thursday morning as well, but we will not. Then, as we go into Friday, the clouds come in. This is now Saturday at 10 a.m. We're still dry, but rain will arrive after that. Expect wet weather on Saturday, then again late Sunday too. Our high today was only 54, so a cool one for this time of the year. Made 60s down on the south coast, but that was the only part of the state that did that. 40s and 50s pretty much everywhere else. So it is 45 right now, the freezing level 4,700 feet. There were 6 inches of new snow in the Cascades from the last day or so. We may see, not this week, it's going to be dry for the rest of the week, but next week we may be talking about feet of snow coming to the mountains. It's going to be pretty good. Sunshine on the coast, though, tomorrow. Highs will be around 60. Really looks like a beautiful day on the beaches and in the valleys. The fog will clear. It really will. And we'll go into sunshine and get up to about 58 or 59. A little bit of frost in the morning, too, though, as it will be cold overnight tonight. Cascades will be sunny in the 20s for lows, 30s for highs, 40s at government camp. So really nice weather there. And like I said, there's about 30 inches of snow on the ground at Timberline right now. Through next week, though, we may see those kind of amounts. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how it plays out, but it's looking pretty good for mountain snow next week. Central and eastern Oregon, you'll be clear down in the 20s for lows. In the gorge, east winds begin to develop tomorrow, but they'll get even stronger as we go into Thursday. And for Portland, morning fog and then sunny, get up to about 60 in the Rose City tomorrow. 59 on Friday. There's Saturday at 55 with rain developing. As we go into the weekend, I think we'll catch a break sometime around, early Saturday. But after that, it's going to start raining again, and we're going to go into a wet pattern as we go into next week.
At least grateful for the sunshine now. Thank you, Matt.
You bet.
All right, we have a few more results to get to. Let's check in on where things stand for Oregon's statewide ballot measure.
First, Measure 115 is projected to pass. It would give the Oregon legislature the authority to impeach and remove statewide elected officials. Right now, the only way to remove them is through recall elections. Almost 63% of voters say yes, 37% or so say no.
Well, voters have soundly rejected Measure 117, according to the Oregonian. This would have expanded ranked choice voting to federal and state offices in Oregon. Almost 60% of voters oppose this, 40% in favor there.
And ballot measure 118 is projected to fail by a pretty large margin. This one would have increased the highest corporate minimum taxes, and the revenue would have been distributed to eligible Oregonians. 21% of voters support this. 79% nearly are against it.
Staggering number there. One ballot measure still too close to call. Measure 116 would create an independent commission to decide salaries for certain elected officials. Right now, you can see it looks like the yeses have it the noes have it 53% to 47% for the yeses. Again, too close to call.
And let's check out a few of the statewide measures in Washington. Voters have shot down Initiative 2117, which would have repealed the state's Climate Commitment Act. So that stays in place.
Well, voters also rejecting Initiative 2109 that would have repealed the state's capital gains tax. So that also stays in place.
And that is all the time we have on this election night. Our Sunrise team is already here working to keep up to date on the very latest vote counts.
Well, you can keep an eye on KGW.com for updated results all night and throughout the week, right? We're in it for the long haul. We said it all night. Then tune in for more reports on KGW News at Sunrise that starts at 4:30 in the morning.
And remember, you can stream KGW News anytime on your schedule right here on KGW Plus.
For Christine Pitawanich, Matt Safino, Laurel Porter, and the entire KGW News team, I'm David Molko. Thanks so much for watching. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow night. Good night, everyone.